Welcome back to Connect and Transform. We're continuing work on the text editor for the web. I've added some code for drag and drop file interactivity and some UI reaction. So I'm just going to go over those changes. So what you see right here is Notepad++. It's not the actual text editor project, but it's just showing differences where on the left, the smaller window, that's where we left the project off. And to the right, the larger window is the current state of things. So we can see there's a little bit of CSS changes. I've added some default transition times. And I've also added outline and outline offset as opposed to border because I didn't want it to be pushed right up against the edge. And when you're dealing with things that are height 100%, it's a lot more convenient to use outline and outline offset. I added a couple classes, one that tells you whether a drag is active, and when that's true, this is what defines the interactivity aspect of it. So the outline shifts from 2 pixels to 4 pixels. The color also darkens a little bit, and then we change the offset to make up for the difference in pixel width, and the background color is black, mostly transparent. And then this is again targeting just some things. So when we're on the screen where we're uploading files, everything's going to be aligned center to its container. But when we switch over to the file editor mode, everything defaults to be left justified. Just some styling here for the H1 to put it roughly center of the screen, make it large enough to see, and to make it not quite so bold. Moving on to HTML. So we've added a considerable amount of HTML because in the past, all we had were these 2 input elements. Now, we did also have this container. The 2 subcontainers were produced in JavaScript, and so now I've just moved those out to HTML. And then I've moved the input elements to be up inside of those. And so each subcontainer now contains a file container, which is the one that you can drag and drop into. And that's the one that says, hey, drop a file here, and holds our input elements. And then these are also the ones that get hidden, leaving the subcontainer present to append all of our lines to in the JavaScript. Moving on. So our subcontainers are the ones that we can actually drag and drop into, even though the file source region are the ones that, actually, you know what? I'm going to change that right now. It would probably make more sense for that to be the draggable container. So there we go. And so basically when you initiate a drag, we want to make sure to prevent default behavior, and then we're going to add this class name to it. Same thing with the other one. When we exit a drag, we remove that active behavior. When we drop a file on, we want to prevent the default behavior, and we remove any active class styling, and then we're going to call this load event, and we're passing in whether it comes from left or right. And then we still have these 2 lines, which we had before. So this is specific to our file upload, the file picker, and then these 6 are event listeners that are specific to drag and drop. And then load file, we've got some additional handling as far as figuring out where to get the file from. We're either going to get it as a drag and drop, or we're going to get it from a file picker. Here, because we've added some more detail to these if-else conditions, I've reformatted it away from single lines. So that's most of the change. But basically, we're just getting the file name so that we can show that on screen, so that after we've uploaded our first file, we can look at it and make sure that it's the right one, that we dropped it in the right place. And then as soon as we upload our second file, same as before, the text compare function gets called. And so that's going to hide our file containers, the ones that are now the drag and drop regions. And then for our subcontainers, we're going to go ahead and remove the outline style so that that's not showing up in the text editor view. So let me save this and we'll double check that the changes to the drag and drop regions are still functional. So let me refresh here. So I can choose a file with the file picker. Let's say I choose file right. Okay, so there we go. And let me refresh. Let's say I drag and drop. Okay, so that must have been why I chose the other ones. Let me, I can't undo, hold on. That must have been why I just went ahead and used the subcontainer as the drag and drop region. Okay. So I'll refresh. We'll start this demo over real quick. So I can drop a file in, you know, oh, I didn't mean to do the left one. So then you can refresh. So that's drag and drop. So when you hover a file over, notice that the thickness of that outline goes from 2 pixels to 4. The color darkens. And of course, the background color shifts. And the same thing happens over here. And because we have our transition of a fraction of a second applied to everything, it doesn't happen immediately. There's a little bit of a delay. So let's say I choose a file from the file picker. I choose the right-hand one. Then I can drag a file. I can change it. I can go over here. I can pick my second file. And as soon as I have my second file, it'll do a comparison. In this case, it's the same file. So that's a good test to make sure that it functions on the same file, and it does. So let's refresh and let's just do a quick check. So let's make sure that we can use the file picker for our second file. Works fine. Let's refresh. Now let's make sure we can do drag and drop, drag and drop. And honestly, any combination is going to work. And if I wanted to like drag something like that, oh, that's completely the wrong file, wrong file, wrong file. And then well, I don't want to drag the left over because that would initiate the comparison, but I can change my mind, right? And then let's say I wanted to swap these. So I'll put the left on the right-hand side and the right on the left-hand side, and there we go, now they're swapped. So that demonstrates the initial UI for picking files. That's just a little bit nicer than just having these 2 input elements. So in some future video, we'll continue enhancing the UI, so there will probably be some kind of dock, maybe on the right, the left, the top, the bottom edge, where maybe we can tell it to swap the 2 files, go back to the main screen without having to hit F5 or reload. And then there will be some sort of interaction to select individual lines or contiguous groups of the same classification of lines. So like, for example, to grab this group of 4 and then to move it to the other side, or to grab, you know, this one line and to move it to the other side. So there will probably be some sort of hover action, maybe delayed, something like, I don't know, if you hover over a region or if you click on a region, maybe then it will provide you with options to then click on an arrow. And I'll probably focus those arrows right around the center of the screen. I'm not sure yet if I want to have the center of the screen be draggable and resizable. I suppose it really wouldn't be difficult at all, because right now the width of the 2 main subcontainers is 50%, 50%. So it would simply be a matter of math and changing those percentages. So maybe I'll make the center line here be draggable, kind of like Notepad++. So if I switch back over Notepad++, we've got this center portion that we can drag and resize. So maybe I'll do that. I'm not sure. The primary focus is to have some sort of interaction where I can move over either a single line or contiguous lines of the same classification. But that shows the UI for drag and drop. We're making slow progress. Thank you for watching.